Nice. Hello and welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with BANT Maverick. So, played this league on Wednesday with BANT Maverick, and we went 3-2. Actually playing against Belcher 3 times, which is pretty fun. A deck that we either lost to on turn 1 or kind of won on turn 1. But hopefully not playing against it again in this stream. So BANT has really come a long way, probably since the printing of Oko. There hasn't really been another blue card that's kind of really pushed people towards the blue version of Maverick. There are cards like Flusterstorm, Teferi, some sideboard cards like Elemental Blast and Meddling Mage, but I think for the most part, the BANT decks we've seen in previous times, especially popularized by Reed Duke, have been BANT mid-range decks. Mainly with a Black Splash for things like Deathratch Shaman, or just a plain control deck of, Noble Hierarchs, True Name Nemesis, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Daze, Force of Will, Ponder, Brainstorm. This is definitely a different deck to that. A lot more creature focused. Still running your 4 Green Sun Zenith. Let me quickly get up. Always turns off. Always turns off. Yeah, so still running Green Suns. Running a fair amount of silver bullets in this deck, so running Hexdrinker as just a cheap threat that can actually get really out of hand, even leveling it up once for some decks. Dryad Militant's really nice against the Breach decks right now, and arguably better than Gaddock Teeg against them, just because it's a lot harder to combo through a Dryad Militant than it is for a Gaddock Teeg. Still like it in the deck though, still good against the Miracles decks. A lot of combo decks that rely on the 4-drops and things like Tendrils or Empty the Warrens. And then it's just a card that against some random decks it just all out wins in game 1. Things like High Tide, it's pretty good against. I don't believe they run any sort of bounce spells in the main deck, so Gaddock Teeg's pretty good. Qasali Pridemage is my choice of hate for artifacts and equipments. You could run Night of Autumn, but because we already had a pretty dense 3 CMC sort of group in this deck, I want to just have another 2 mana beater to play, so Qasali's pretty nice. It also means that instant speed we can interact, so in our opponent's turn, but I think having Collector Ouphe in the main deck as well sort of counteracts that. We don't really need it, but I think Qasali's pretty nice. Also, the Exalted really adds up from Qasali Pridemage and Noble Hierarch, so yeah, that's just another little advantage of Qasali Pridemage. Collector Ouphe is great against some of the LED decks, your Aethervial decks, your Stoneforge Mystic decks. We're not playing a Stoneforge Mystic package ourselves, and we're not playing any equipment, so it's pretty nice to have sort of a one-sided Null Rod. Scryb Ranger is just fantastic. Great against Delver, of course, but also great against just some of the mid-range decks, being able to untap Mother of Runes, your Mana Dorks for extra mana, Knight of the Reliquary, of course. Scavenging Ooze, just again one of the better cards in the list. We do have the wrong version of Scavenging Ooze here, which is just a pretty great card in this deck. It's a threat, it's a piece of disruption, and it can just run away with the game if your opponent isn't too weary of it. Especially with Gaea's Cradle in the deck as well, it can be pretty good at just removing a graveyard as a whole as a resource, which is nice. But I think by that point you're probably winning the game anyway. We're only running 3 Knights. I was running a 61 card deck, but I think for this kind of deck, I'm pretty happy to drop a Knight. We are still wastelanding our opponents, but a lot of the time we're wanting to get to that 3-4 mana to be able to cast our threats pretty effectively. But I think just having an extra Green Suns and keeping the 4th Green Suns, I can drop a Knight here and be pretty happy still just having 3 in the deck. Knight, of course, is pretty much the core of the deck. It's great at disrupting your opponent's mana base, although right now there's a lot of decks in the format with a lot of basics, so it's doing a little bit less than usual, but it's still a great beater. It can find new cards like Karakas and Noble Horizon Canopy, which is nice, so if you are flooding out a little bit, you can start drawing into some lands that actually might turn into spells later on. Questing Beast is an interesting one, a card that I've just really enjoyed playing with. It's great to have a card that comes in with haste, which you don't typically have in Maverick. And of course, it just does the primary thing of wanting to beat down your opponent while also disrupting your opponent. So, not allowing them to block with things like Baleful Strix or Iceman Codals, which they might have set up. It can kill Planeswalkers even if you're not attacking the Planeswalker, which is great. You can also save it with Karakas, but then there's also the downside that your opponent can Karakas it. So there's bits and bobs to it. People also playing Shifting Ceratops, which is another great card. Pro blue, can't be countered. Can't be countered, probably the biggest part of it. The second biggest change is that Shifting Ceratops can also have reach, which can definitely come up. But Beast is just so much fun to play with that we're gonna keep with it. 2 Sylvan Libraries are in the deck just because I really want to be finding some of the cards that I want to bet against combo in my early turns. It also means that we can be pretty... I feel like a lot of decks right now, you can be pretty aggressive with Sylvan Library because it doesn't really matter if you're on 16 or 12 or 20. You're probably going to be dead if they do have whatever their strategy is going to be to kill you. So Sylvan Library is really nice against the depths decks. Even Storm to some extent. Against Miracles, it's fantastic because we do have a pretty rough game against Miracles. A lot of our plan is to go wide on the board, but if we're going to be playing into a Supreme Verdict or a Terminus, then they're going to be able to 3-4 for 1 us at times. So trying to get in protection and a threat and just keeping it at that against Miracles is sometimes pretty hard to do, but we'll see how it goes. So Sylvan Library is really nice at just finding those sort of 2 pieces that you really want. Teferis are one of in the deck that I just wanted to try out, and it has been pretty good so far. It's great against Terminus, of course, but I did want to play Uro in the deck. I just didn't have enough ticks for it because it is currently 50 ticks. It is a standard card, so that's kind of the slot that I wanted to play with, and I think Teferi is just a nice little piece for it. Oko, of course, the reason to play BANT right now, in my opinion. Really nice in the deck, especially because against the other Oko decks, you're most likely getting it out faster through your mana dorks, which is really nice. So Oko has been pretty fun to play with, and it really puts a strain on your opponent's ability to actually play a threat, because if we have a food out or a creature that to them does nothing, like Collector Ouphe, we're pretty happy to switch them over, so that's pretty cool. 4 Swords is pretty straightforward. We don't have Abrupt Decay or Assassin's Trophy or any sort of other disruption in this list for removal, so I've got to rely on those 4 Swords. In the board we have Powerless Jailer and Council's Judgment to also hit creatures. Council's Judgment also hitting True Name Nemesis, which is pretty nice. Savine's Reclamation, I think, is the best white card in Legacy right now. It's pretty much a 3-for-1 when it's really good. There are a lot of decks running Abrupt Decay right now, and a few other Destroy effects, so getting back a Teferi or an Oko or a Sylvan Library is really nice. So pretty keen to bring this in against a few decks. We then have our Graveyard Hate in Leyline, and then combo hate, we pretty much have Veil of Summers, Blue Elemental Blast, which is also there for things like Young Pyromancer, Dreadhorde Arcanist, Gamble. There's definitely a few red cards we want to be playing this against, and it's just nice as a sort of 1-for-1 piece of removal. Dovin's Veto is really nice. I kind of like it over Flusterstorm because that can hit Planeswalkers as well, which can be an issue, but if we can hit something like a Terminus, then I'm very happy. Yeah, I think Veto was a 2 of, but I actually have gone for a second Meddling Mage instead of the other Veto. I kind of like Meddling Mage in this deck because you can apply pressure with it, which I think is what Maverick wants to do. Instead of just holding up 2 mana for Veto, I'd rather play this for 2 mana, disrupt my opponent, and also start attacking in. Because I don't think Maverick's going to be in a great position if all you're doing is holding up counterspells the whole time. It's not really the deck that wants to do that. Prelate is going to be interesting. I think there's a lot of decks that Prelate's great against right now. Probably on 2 against Breach. For those who are playing Blue-Green Show and Tell, I think on 3, it's pretty unbeatable in game 1, because they can't even Cunning Wish. So Prelate's going to be really nice. It's also great against Miracles, where we can probably either name 1 or 6. But yeah, we'll see how Prelate goes. And then it's the Force of Vigor, which actually has been really nice. Force, I'd love to move up to 2. I'm not too sure what I would cut for it. But for now, this is the deck. It's really fun. Let's get into some Magic and see how it goes. A huge thank you to Card Hoarder, who of course sponsored the channel and allowed me to get these cards ad hoc. And also to mtgmate.com.au, which is an Australian online card seller. Huge range, really good buy list as well. You can get 25% back on your buy list, which is cool in store credit. And you can also save 5% on singles through the code DOOGS. So if you're an Australian and you're watching the stream, first off, thank you. And second off, you're welcome. But yeah, I think this deck has a bit of game against a lot of decks in the field, which is nice. There aren't too many games where, you know, we're kind of like a 90-10. Maybe some of the go wide strategies. We don't have anything like Plague Engineer or Zealous Persecution to really punish those who go wide in, you know, Elves or Young Pyromancer, or even Empty the Warrens early on can be pretty rough. We also don't have the Stoneforge Mystic package, so Batterskull isn't something we can put together to try to get out of an Empty the Warrens early on, which, you know, sometimes you can do. If you do the math, you can see if you can actually live through, I believe it's 12? It could be 14, but I believe it's 12 that you can live through if you're on the play. Which is kind of cool. If you're wanting to find the list at any point, you can click on the Cardboard Live functionality on screen. It's the back of the cards. All right, we're up against Pitofred on the draw. Whew. And this hand's pretty good. The one thing that I don't like is, of course, the Dryad Arbor in the opening hand, but we have a pretty good chance of drawing into another land within the next 2 turns, which means we can cast a turn 2 Teferi or Knight, which are both really nice. Teferi's great against some of the control decks, Knight's great against some of the fair decks, and then we have 2 swords to back up the fair deck strategy. But if this is against an unfair deck, then swords might be a bit of a liability, but I'm happy to keep this. I don't think there's a reason to start off with Dryad Arbor. Noble Hierarch, interesting. So, I think the big blowout here is most likely going to be swords on a Noble Hierarch or a bird, and then a wasteland on what we get here, which most likely is a dual land. So, I think I'm still happy just to go for... If I go Windswept Heath in the forest and play a bird or a noble, if they then swords it and then have port, they take us off our green source, but I think that's fine. I think I'm happy to play around... Yeah, play around Wasteland a little bit more than Rishon and Port. So there's the swords. Thalia, okay. Sylvan Library. Let's go Dryad Arbor into birds and pass. Definitely no blocks here. The first strike's really nice against us. Revoker. Oof. Okay, maybe going after our mana now. Another swords. Pretty rough. So now we don't really have anything to do. The bird's turned off, of course. We have 3 swords, but they're pretty ineffective with this current mana base. I wonder if I don't mind just attacking here with the Dryad Arbor. If they want to block with the Phyrexian Revoker, at least it turns on white for us. But definitely a tough spot. Our opponent keeping the Karakas up as well is really nice, because it means that these swords are going to be less effective against them. Stoneforge is a go. Hey, Morel MTG, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what do you play in Legacy? So that was pretty rough. Getting the snow-covered forest there really punished us, but at least post-board we do have some pretty good options to bring in. I like taking out the Thalias and the Gaddock Teeg. I like the Council's Judgment. I don't mind the Force of Vigor. The Palace Jailer is interesting. I think if we can hate on Vile enough, then Palace Jailer is okay, because then we just have to worry about what's on board, but I feel like in a Mother of Runes deck it can be a little bit suspect. Savine's Reclamation is interesting, actually. I could leave the Dryad Arbor to block the Revoker, but I think if I left the Dryad Arbor up, they probably wouldn't attack with the Revoker. Hey, Miles, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. You're from Brazil. Played last year with Delva. This year, I hit one champ with 4-color Snoko. 4-color Snoko is really strong. I'm definitely a big fan of that deck. So we do have 2 cards we can bring in. Interesting. I think Reclamation definitely has a spot. And maybe Jailer is actually okay to bring in, especially on the play where we can get it out a little bit earlier than our opponents with these. Dryad Arbor and Hexdrinker are a little bit off, but we don't really have better cards to bring in. Meddling Mage is an interesting one because there's not many cards we can name in the blind. Especially, like, say we name Stoneforge Mystic, then they can just Vile it in. And I think that if we're being able to play Meddling Mage without them already having a Vile in play, then it's probably a little bit too late anyway. I'm going to see how this goes. At least our opponent didn't see that we're on blue. Didn't really get to play too much, but we might be able to get back from that. So this hand is kind of nice. If our opponent doesn't have a Swords to Plowshares, then having the Mum on lines can be great. But until turn 3, we don't really have another play until we cast Knight, which isn't the greatest. I guess this hand allows us to just play the Dryad Arbor turn 2 without getting too punished, but I'd probably rather a hand with a Noble Hierarch rather than a Mum, just to make sure that if they don't have a Swords, we can just power out a 3-drop pretty early on. Yeah, I think Dryad Militant is pretty easy to take out, but I think there's not enough cards to bring in, unfortunately. Even though they have Karakas, there's probably some reasoning behind keeping in Thalia just because of First Strike. But I think this hand is okay, especially because the Canopy can hopefully cycle into another spell. I'm pretty happy to keep this. I don't really want to get Wastelanded early on, especially if they deal with our Mum, so I'm going to lead with the Snow-Covered Plains over the Tundra and go with Mum. Because I think the best thing we can try to do is just get this Knight out turn 3. Vile, okay. Snow-Covered Forest. Snow-Covered Forest isn't the worst, because it means we can't get Wastelanded, but we could get Ported, which I don't mind too much. I think I'm happy just going with this and passing. Yeah, it is pretty nice in the opener. It does mean we get some amount of traction going, which is kind of nice. Even just getting in early damage. Another land. Interesting. I'm gonna go with Canopy, because if they have Wasteland, we can hopefully just use our mana to actually draw a card. Could also go with a land that I don't really care about, in case they do have Wasteland. But I might try to hide that we have blue for as long as I can. Yeah, so I think the choice of Snow Basic in BANT was, in case our opponent thinks we're on an Ice Fang Codal build, it might make them make some choices about attacking where they don't really have to. So it was kind of just a case of, we can play Snow Covered, or we can just play normal ones, and I think there's just a little bit of an upside of playing the Snow Covered Plains. Teferi. Teferi's interesting. We can bounce its Aether Vial if we wish, which I think I like Knight here over Teferi. Although we do get to draw a card off the Teferi, which is really nice. The issue is that if our opponent has a Revoker, they can put in Revoker in response to the Teferi, and it does nothing, so I don't mind just playing the Knight here. So let's go with, I'm going to go with Trop into Knight. Nothing from our opponent, interesting. So obviously I have a pretty nice hand with that, with a bunch of 3-drops perhaps. Double Vial, double Port is pretty brutal for us. But at least next turn, if we want, we could double Wasteland our opponent off the ports. Tapping down the Canopy is going to be fine. I like how they tapped down the Canopy first, so we couldn't float mana from one of these 3 lands and then use it to sack the Canopy. Sylvan Library. Sylvan Library is actually really nice, and I think it's a little bit better than the Teferi, because it allows us to dig for things like Collector Ouphe or Green Sun Zenith. I don't really want to Wasteland here because my opponent could have Flicker Wisp, so I think I might wait until their end step to see what they put in. Nothing. I'm pretty happy then to wait on this. I also don't mind if this is like a Gideon. Cataclysm. Interesting. They're going to hold priority and put in Aether Vial. I think in response I'm just going to Wasteland them. This also might make them Aether Vial in Flicker Wisp. Do I want to use the Mum? I don't think I do. I think this is fine. Stoneforge, okay. Yeah, at least with the Cataclysm we get to keep the Sylvan Library. So not playing out the Teferi was kind of nice because we would have lost the Teferi to the Cataclysm. I could probably see my opponent putting in Flicker Wisp here and trying to flicker out a land. So then they can keep 2 lands, which is kind of nice. So I think I'm going to keep the Snow-Covered Forest. I think these 3 are what I want to keep. The Mum is nice, but with the Flicker Wisp having most likely the Jitter in the air, Mum's a little bit less great. I think I'm happy just paying for all of these to try to dig deeper. So now we can go... I don't mind Double Knight. I don't mind Double Knight. So we can go Forest here. Forest, sack 1. get a Windswept Heath, sack this, get a Savannah, play another Knight. Revoker's going to be fine. I'm probably more scared of Jide than Revoker. Even if they name Knight here, we do have a pretty good beatdown plan. Hey, Adrew. Thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. Prelate. Probably naming one. Okay. Hmm. I think our plan is Teferi here, so it doesn't really matter what we take. So I think we attack first with both of these. They probably just block 1 and take 9. And then I think the best play is to play Teferi. And most likely bounce. That's the interesting one. Because if we bounce the Flicker Wisp when they already have Vial, it's just so good for them. We're definitely playing it. Maybe we just attack with one Knight. And then hold one back. If we bounce the Vial, that's kind of nice. But then if they have a land Flicker Wisp, they can flicker out a blocker and then just attack for lethal. I don't mind Teferi. Bounce Prelate. Definitely attack with one. We can also get it back with Reclamation next turn, which is nice. I like bouncing Prelate as well, because it makes us look like we have Swords to Plowshares in hand. So maybe it forces them to replay the Prelate. Hardcast Prelate, okay. Attacking us, interesting. Judgment's pretty nice. Put on top, put on top. Tick up Teferi. See what they do in response to this. If they have another Wisp, they could actually just flicker one out, but... It's really between Flickerwisp and Vile, but I don't know the hand. We know about Phyrexian, we know about Jide, so we know about... They have 2 other cards. If we name Flickerwisp here, and they end step flicker out a Knight, then I guess we can play Dryad Arbor this turn as well to have 2 blockers. But it's tough. I think we have to go with Flickerwisp because it's the current threat on the board that we can't deal with. They could have another one, but we don't know that. We know they have a Flickerwisp on board that we can't deal with right now, so I think it is just Flickerwisp here. Unfortunately. I should have waited for the next turn. That's the issue. I don't know if I have a next turn. So now we can go Dryad Arbor. And unfortunately we just have to pass back, because if we attack with one creature, they can take it, and then Flickerwisp in, take out a Knight, and then just attack for lethal. Do they have anything? If they have Flicker, they would save this one. So there's Flickerwisp. Flicker out a Knight. Thalia is okay. All right. What can we find? Not enough, I believe. I think our plan is to get back Wasteland, attack with both and see what they do. Because the only way we win this game is that they don't block one of the Knights. We Wasteland ourselves and deal 11, but otherwise we're pretty stranded. Maybe the hand was just too slow. I mean, it was just a a Knight, and lands, and then our first 3 draws was lands. So maybe I had to mulligan to something a little bit more aggressive. Ah, it's an 8/8 butt, of course, because we get back the Wasteland. Rough. Mirren's pretty good. Alright, so that is 0-1. Rough. Usually a pretty good matchup. You know, Swords to Plowshares is great. Collector Ouphe is fine. And really good against that sort of start with the double vials, but you know, you sometimes just have to hit them and sometimes you don't, so all good. Hopefully a loss we get out of the way, and then we can just keep going strong with this deck. Because yeah, I think Death and Taxes is definitely a favored deck. We have a lot more main deck interaction with them, which is nice. In Qasali Pridemage, Collector Ouphe, things like that. The Sleeping Eye. I think we've played against the Sleeping Eye before. I'm not too sure. I don't know why I touched my eye when I said the Sleeping Eye. Sadly, this end's a little bit rough. Without the Cradle, it would have been really nice. I don't think we can keep this thinking we'll draw into a land to cast one of these creatures, so I'm going to mulligan this. I'd rather have a land where I can cast stuff, and this is it, so we'll keep this. And I'm going to bottom the snow-covered forest. And hopefully rely on this trop to stick around. LED. Okay, that's not great. Okay, this looks like Dredge. Maybe I don't want a 5 here, because if they Cabal Therapy, I probably just want to concede. They've hit all 4 Narcomoebas, and they have Cabal Therapies. Yeah, pretty GG. Aishin, you are very correct. I think we're just going to concede here. We saw the Ox, which is kind of cool. But at least we have, Leyline's really nice. I don't mind the Force of Vigor either. Meddling Mage is interesting, but I don't mind the Veils on the play as well. Meddling Mage? Yeah, I'm not too sure what I name with Meddling Mage. I could name Dread Return, Cabal Therapy. I could go after some of their cards like Faithful Saluting or Breakthrough. I'm not sure how fast they are. Teferi seems pretty slow. I don't mind the Questing Beast against their zombies, so questing's kind of cool. Force of Vigor is 4 in case they bring in Silent Gravestone, which is a card that a lot of Dredge decks play, which can be pretty brutal for us. But I guess if Leyline's the card we're bringing in and not Surgical or Ferromacabre, it's less effective, but it really only hurts Skoos, which is pretty funny. Yeah, maybe we don't actually need the Force, because our set of Graveyard Hate is Leyline and not targeted. So Drew, that's yeah, that's a good point. Dryad Militant's actually kind of nice. It does stop Cabal Therapy, Dread Return, Faithful Saluting. Hexdrinker is interesting, but probably not where we want to be. Gaddock Teeg is nice because it does stop Dread Return. Collector Ouphe is okay, it stops LED. Sylvan Library is pretty nice. I think we can be pretty aggressive with Sylvan Library in this matchup. Knights are fine. Mums are okay. They're kind of just nice as one-drop creatures, but I kind of like dropping 1. I think we can also go down on a land, most likely Trop. Teferi can come out. Mages are interesting. I guess they're nice because our opponent plays with their hand pretty much in their graveyard, so we do have full information on what we can and should name. I think we can drop down a few Okos as well. It's not really the matchup where you want Oko. And maybe even a Thalia, because we are bringing in some non-creature hate. Although Thalia is kind of nice because the legendary rule means that we can exile bridges with Thalia. Yeah, I think Oko can actually be just cut 100%. Elemental Blast is interesting, especially as they did name Red. Can this deck support Uro? I think it could. The issue with Uro was that it was sadly 50 ticks, and I didn't have 50 ticks on my loan account, so I'd love to try it. It seems like a really cool card to play with. I think it's definitely stronger in the loam decks, because you can of course loam it and then get it back from the graveyard, but I really wanted to try it out. I just didn't have the ticks to support it, unfortunately, Stifro. Veto's an interesting one, but probably not what we want to be. Oh, that's... Oh no. Oh, no. I think we just didn't sideboard. Yup. Okay. Well, we have Skoos. We have Dryad Arbor. Sorry, Dryad Militant. Actually kind of relevant. I'm thinking we're just going to keep this and see how it slides. That is why you definitely don't talk the whole way through your sideboarding options. Yeah. Hopefully he mulls the Nature's Claim. Yeah. Dryad Militant actually kind of nice in this deck because it does stop Dread Return. It does stop flashback Cabal therapies. So let's just go for a Savannah here. And play Dryad Militant. I can't believe I did that. That is not cool. Interesting. Opponent is going to discard. Grave Troll. Okay. So here we could Green Suns for something like Noble Hierarch, but I think we just want to play Skoos and then have 2 sources of green. Alright, let's see what our opponent hits. Interesting, so we exiled a Cabal Therapy, which is really nice. They didn't hit really anything other than Icarid. So we'll see what they have this turn, if they have maybe like an LED play. Wow, okay. So luckily we didn't need to sideboard. Which is pretty nice as well, because they didn't see Leyline, so they don't know what interaction we have in regards to Graveyard Hate. So let's quickly go back through this. Leylines aren't that great. I don't think Planeswalkers are where we want to be, so that's kind of like a pretty easy switch. Veil is probably a little less good on the draw. I still like the mages. I think mages are fine. And so we can probably drop something like Hexdrinker and maybe 1 Mum. Cut Pridemage. The one thing that I like about Pridemage is that if they are on Silent Gravestone, which I guess there would be a higher chance they are, seeing they saw Scavenging Ooze as our hate for the graveyard. Qasali Pridemage can also turn off bridges if we hit something, which is kind of nice, but I think because we have the ley lines, we're probably a little bit less inclined to play the Pridemage. It might even just be one of these mana dorks. I think I can pretty easily cut a Noble Hierarch on the draw. And this is 60, so is there really anything else that I want? Force of Vigor is interesting, but we haven't seen too many effects from our opponent. Make sure I click submit this time. Okay, let's just go with this. I think the ley lines are a pretty massive appeal for us, so hopefully we see one in our opening, which we do, and this hand is really playable, which is nice. So this is an easy keep. The one thing that Leyline can do is cause you to keep hands that don't really have a plan. So luckily this hand does, which is really nice. I'm sorry, opponent. That is pretty rough. Let's be a little cleaner with that. That's always a really nice feeling. Teeg is mainly for Dread Return. That's really the only card. So there's definitely a consideration, is Teeg better for us in hitting Dread Return? And also Breakthrough, I guess. Or is it worse off for us because it can turn off Green Sun Zenith if it is in play? But I think it's okay. There are definitely some times where you just like, that's not what you want, but I've always liked Teeg when I've found it against Dredge, so I think I'll keep trying it out until I find a better card. But yeah, Dryad Militant there are really nice as well. Just subtly a great card against Dredge. Not a great card, but just a good card. Okay, up against Dragon Slayer, and we're on the play, which is really nice. This hand's pretty fantastic. And I think I'm pretty happy to actually lead on birds over Mum, because then turn 2 we can go Mum and Thalia. Or even something like Qasali Pridemage if we have to blow up a Chalice. Or something straight away. Like this hand, if we are playing against an Aether Vial deck, I'm happy just to go birds turn 1 and then turn 2 Qasali Pridemage, blow up your Vial, because a lot of strategies that run Aether Vial might keep a pretty sketchy hand based on that they have a turn 1 Aether Vial. Yeah, Achilles is definitely a very good green-white Maverick player. Usually seems to put up results every month because he's always featuring in the Maverick Monthly, which if you haven't checked out, you should check out on the Green Sun Zenith .com. Prismatic Vista. This always makes me think it's going to be some sort of Miracles deck or a snow-covered base deck. Okay. Well, maybe this is going to be blue-green Show and Tell, which has been popping up recently. Which we do have some nice cards against. They can play through Teeg, which is a little bit scary, but we'll see how this goes. Another Thalia is actually quite nice in case they counter this first one. Force pitching Fluster, okay. Now we can go for Mum. Maybe playing Mum there was a misplay, because if they have like a Soul Lance into Omniscience, and then their win con is through Cunning Wish, we could actually Qasali Pridemage in response to the Cunning Wish. But luckily not. With this Preordain, they obviously don't have it, so that's kind of nice. Vista Island Preordain can be breached too. Yeah, that's very correct. I know that some lists are running duels, so I'm not too sure why you would run Vista over, like, blue fetch land 9 and 10 or 7 and 8. It is nice that you can get basics, but Swords. So Swords is pretty dead in this matchup, unfortunately. Another Force. Alright. Can definitely attack with Mum, and now we can hold up the birds, which is nice. So if we do put in the Pridemage, our opponent missed a land drop as well, so that's pretty brutal. LED. Interesting. They're going to play it as well. I feel like I don't want to hit the LED here. I want to keep this for the bridge. I believe that's correct. Because I can respond to their first spell with Breach at least. Even if they fetch, I could respond to it by blowing up the LED to make them discard their hand or just lose the LED. Definitely a few things to consider. Hey, French thing. Thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. I actually know where you're from. Or Achilles. And obviously you're playing Breach right now, which is very cool. Definitely attack first. I think if they brainstorm in their end step, I'm pretty happy to Wasteland the Flooded Strand in response, because I think this Wasteland's going to be pretty dead. So if I can try to get a shuffle, they're going to fetch in response. Okay. Enlightened Tutor. Okay. Oh, very cool. I'm looking to head to Canada. Okay, so they have Underworld Breach. So does that mean in upkeep I should be hitting the LED? No. Because then they can just play the... Yeah, so they have Underworld Breach in hand. If we hit the LED now, they just let it slide into the graveyard and then play a land and then play Breach and then go off. So I think I should just save the Qasali Pridemage for Breach. Hey, Ruined Spice. Cool emote. Cool emote. I'll give you that. Knight. Okay, so we can definitely attack. Knight's interesting. It's a pretty vanilla creature, I think, against this sort of deck, unfortunately. At least if we draw a fetch land, we have lethal, because we can wasteland ourselves to make the knight a 4/4. Qasali makes it a 5/5, fetch makes it a 6/6. Interesting, close. I guess we can attack with everything then, and that's lethal. I don't have a bog, unfortunately. Main deck Graveyard Hate is really just between Scavenging Ooze. I guess Dryad Militant is a pretty nice card against this deck. And I think I'd actually go for Dryad Militant over Collector Ouphe if I did have the option for both. So the one issue that I have is I believe... So if they cast Breach, they have access to another Breach and Enlightened Tutor at instant speed. And then they can also preordain to draw it. So even if I deal with this one, it's going to be pretty hard to deal with the second one. I think here I just have to deal with this. I don't think there's a better chance. I don't think I need to, like... I'm not too familiar with this matchup, so I'm not too sure if I have to wait to use Qasali, or if I should just use it in response to this preordain. The issue is that if I use it in response to the preordain, it gives them more information about how they should preordain this turn, because they obviously won't have the Underworld Breach around. I think I have to. Oh, they had the Brain Freeze? Rough. Maybe I should have waited for them, if I did think they had Brain Freeze, to Brain Freeze on the stack. But then it's still tough because they have Sensei Savine's Reclamation to get it back, especially with LED. So that's a tough one. Maybe that was just too aggressive for me. I'll definitely try to see what else is in their deck. See if they have any bounce spells. I don't believe they play bounce spells in the main deck, but at least if they do, it's pretty nice for Meddling Mage. Deck's pretty cool, bud. Deck's pretty cool. Tough to play against sometimes. Whew. Seal of Unsummon. Interesting. Is Seal of Unsummon just like a blue to cast and then a blue to activate? Or is it a blue to cast and then you can just sack it for no cost? Or just the sacrifice is the effect? Blue to cast, free to crack. Okay, interesting. Ah, so now my opponent is... Interesting, passing back. Birds. I think we definitely wasteland our opponent. And then attack for 4? If they have a land, they don't. Wow, okay. Interesting. Maybe I'm missing something. I thought that if you have Underworld Breach in play and you also have Brain Freeze, Maybe you need LED as well, which they can't cast in the graveyard at instant speed, to get the mana to cast Brain Freeze, because you need the mana, of course, on top of the ability to exile cards from your graveyard. Okay. So Swords to Plowshares can definitely come out. I don't think this is really where we want Hexdrinker either. Oko's interesting. I don't know about Teferi. I guess we can try to bounce something, but I don't think the sorcery speed interaction is that great. We definitely want Leyline. We definitely want Dovin's Veto and Meddling Mage. And I think Prelate's really nice. I'm not sure about Veil of Summer. I don't think that's what we want. Blue Elemental Blast seems great as well. Questing Beast probably a little bit too slow. Knights are okay. Mums are fine. We can probably drop down on something like a Wasteland. Probably go down on Okos and just have 1 and 1. I think this is pretty good. The issue is with things like, Force of Vigor is actually really nice. The thing with like Council's Judgment is that if we do have the option to Council's Judgment, say a Breach, then it's probably already a game that we're favored in. I'm gonna go with a Hierarch. Yeah, maybe they were. Because I thought once they had the Breach in play, they could also use the Enlightened Tutor instant speed, and I thought they might tutor for another Breach and then wait a turn, and then play that and try to go off, but maybe they didn't have the red mana. Maybe the Wasteland was just a little bit too good. I think this is fine. Let's just go with this. It's interesting because a lot of the decks have so many different bounce spells that they're playing, so it can be hard to try to name one with Meddling Mage. This is interesting. This is one of those hands where it really relies on Meddling Mage to do well, but seeing they already play Force of Will and they probably have bounce effects, a turn 1 Mum into a turn 2 Mage might just be a little bit too slow, especially when we have nothing else that really hurts. And we also don't have Leyline, which is a card that's pretty hard to cast from our hand. So I'm going to mulligan this. And this hand's actually pretty nice, especially with Dryad Militant. I'm going to keep this. Even though it's not a Leyline hand, having turn 1 interaction, turn 2 interaction is really nice. I guess there's also upside that if there is a game 3, we haven't shown that we're on Leyline yet. Our opponent's also mulligan quite aggressively. Mulligan to 5, okay. Alright, happy to go first Savannah and play this Dryad Militant. See if they get a dual end or not. If they're playing a Breach this turn, they have to. No. Preordain. Okay. Luckily, it gets exiled, which is kind of nice. Oh, Prelate as well. Nice. Let's go for attack first. And then I'm just going to go with Karakas into Thalia. Hey, JSN27, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. Nice. Nice. One second. Dryad Arbor is so strong against that deck. Yeah, I can definitely see how that Breach deck can go through Thalia, especially because you can just use your graveyard as such a good resource that you don't care about the extra one. LED is a messed up card. I hope that if this deck does get hit with some sort of banning, it's not on LED, a little bit like Mox Opal was the hit for modern decks. It's got to be Breach itself. LED is just so much better, and it's such a good card to play with, whether that's Dredge or Bomberman or Storm or you know, some sort of combo deck. It's one of those cards that really is the face of Legacy. Yeah, I think a lot of people would. I think a lot of people would. Ben Capon. I don't mind this hand. It really relies on a Savannah or Noble Hierarch, but I'm pretty happy to keep this. A little bit greedy. I'm not a big fan of keeping one landers, but I think because we have the double up, oof, okay. That's always a kind of scary sign. A land here would be great. Another Green Suns, interesting. I'm gonna go for Noble over Green Suns. I think Green Suns for like Collector Ouphe is pretty nice in this matchup. They have the swords. Flagstones, okay, not the worst. Thalia is not the worst either. Maybe a reason to play the Green Suns turn 1 for Dryad Arbor, because you can get a little bit more out of your mana, but... Cradle's interesting. Wasteland's pretty good. Wasteland Cradle, okay. Not the worst. And no 2-drop from our opponent. That's pretty big. Hexdrinker. I think I just like Green Suns for Dryad Arbor here. Because we can't go with Sylvan Library yet. And just hope our opponent isn't playing main deck Containment Priest. I think this Sylvan Library is going to be pretty huge if I can get it down. So I need all 3 creatures to stick around and not get revoked. Wisp, okay. Okay. Going full beatdown. Green Suns. I still think Library here is just solid. It does mean our opponent can attack for 5 and then play another Wisp, exile their Wisp, end step, exile our Sylvan Library, and we won't have it for our turn. We really need to find a removal pretty fast. We did not cut Ouphe. We do have Ouphe in the main deck, which is nice. Sword, okay. Sword's pretty good. Collector Ouphe is pretty nice here. I think we can put away the Zenith. And probably pay for this and go down to 7. I also don't mind Qasali and Hexdrinker and then just hold up Qasali. Mum's pretty good. So we can double block the Thalia. Because I think my plan is kind of moving towards having to get Scavenging Ooze. And maybe start eating some creatures to allow me to stay in this game and not just out of the Flicker Wisp. But then I don't lose the swords. I guess we have the swords kind of down pat in Collector Ouphe, but I think I like just Qasali block and then blow up the sword. I'm gonna do that. Qasali block. Go to 3. Hopefully see a sword on top. Tapping that down. We can't do anything in instant speed, so that's fine. Yikes. Put on top, put on top. So we have a land drop. Rough. To board, Council Judgment's pretty good. Palace Jailer is okay. On the play, I don't mind it. I don't mind Force of Vigor. I don't mind Reclamation. I think we can take out Thalia's and probably Dryad Militant. Gaddock Teeg as well. So we might look at what else we can kind of bring in here. Meddling Mage is interesting, but of course, as I said before, with Vile, it makes things a little bit obnoxious. Thalia is okay because of the first strike, but this deck really relies on seeing those 4 Swords to Plowshares against the creature decks, or Oko, but otherwise, it's pretty tough to deal with them, especially even Flyers. Maybe this is fine. Dovin's Veto is interesting, but it's really there for things like Cataclysm, Gideon. Maybe I'd rather the Veto over the Meddling Mage in this matchup. But, I think Mage is fine. Not the greatest. Prelate's interesting, but there's nothing really to name. We rely on 1 for our Swords to Plowshares, and then it might just accidentally turn off one of our Green Suns if we really need it, so I'm just going to go ahead with this 60 and see how this goes. I'm pretty happy for this hand because it allows us to Green Suns for 2 for Collector Ouphe. Scryb Ranger with birds is also really nice. With these fetch lands, also it represents Dryad Arbor, which with Scryb Ranger is just a blocker for days, which is awesome. Very interesting. I think I'm still happy with just Green Suns for Collector Ouphe here. Oh, double Wasteland. Revoker. Okay. That's going to be fine. I wonder here if I just want to slam Teferi, bounce the Revoker, and draw a card. I don't mind that. Oh. Need that blue mana. Blue, white? Haha, come on, man. There we go. Return this. Wasteland, okay. This also means our opponent can't swords in our turn, which is kind of nice. Revoke is going to be fine. Birds of Paradise. Okay, going after our mana. Interesting. Mum's pretty nice. So tick this up. Play Windswept Heath, which can be Dryad Arbor. We can play Mum, and then just pass turn, holding up Scryb Ranger. So if our opponent tries to Wasteland us, we can flash in the Scryb Ranger and then save it. They can re-Wasteland the land they're targeting, but probably not the greatest play. So it was targeting Tropical Island. We can cast Ranger and then save it. It's part of the cost as well, so they can't actually do that. Because it's return a forest you control to its owner's hand, and then semicolon. And this Mum with Collector Ouphe really turns off Swords to Plowshares, which is nice, unless they have it this turn. And they do, okay. Usually when I talk about things on stream it happens, so maybe I shouldn't talk about that. No attacks, interesting. I think I'm pretty happy just to get Dryad Arbor out of the deck right now. I won't be able to return it with Scryb Ranger, but I think that's fine. Ooh, Oko's pretty good. I'm going to tick this up first, and then play Oko. Just in case of some sort of shenanigans. Stoneforge, okay. Jide, okay. I guess we get a free attack with Scryb Ranger here. Tough spot. My opponent's down on lands, of course, or down on their ability to actually really do anything because the Vial they seem to really rely on in this game. Especially with the double Wasteland start, that's pretty rough for them. Second Plains. So that turns on something like Council's Judgment. Gonna go to combat, okay. Nothing. Interesting. Meddling Mage. I guess we can Teferi Stoneforge, and then if they put something in, then we can steal it with Oko, but I think that's just a little bit rough right now. I think we just want to tick up. And tick up Oko. Make a food. Or turn the birds into a 3/3. That's not too bad, especially because the birds is already taken off by the Phyrexian Revoker. If they have Batterskull, it's a bit of a blowout if we attack with the bird, so maybe I just want to attack with the Scryb Ranger. And now I'm just going to name Swords to Plowshares with Meddling Mage. Although they only have 3 left and we have 4, it's kind of the card that probably gets them ahead. If they attack with Jide next turn, we block and like give pro with Mum. So here I'm happy to use Wasteland on Wasteland because then we get to use Scryb Ranger in our turn in response and then also in their turn. So we get to untap Scryb Ranger, returning Dryad Arbor, which is pretty nice. I guess they can attack with the Revoker, which is pretty rough, because it is colorless and we can't get protection. Yeah, maybe that was a misplay. To be fair though, it's not too bad. We do get to steal the Jide, which is really nice. So I think here we just want to block with the Birds of Paradise as a 3/3. So really that was just a case of me not going through my game actions and what my opponent can do. That's interesting. I think we want to play Dryad Arbor, and then we can exchange control of Dryad Arbor and Jide. Target creature. Okay, well the force is going to be really nice. But now we can't cast it. Classic. Oh, we can because the birds is now... No, it's an elk. Yep. Okay. So maybe now we have to bounce. Maybe we have to bounce the Jide. And then we can just block their attacks anyway. Yeah, that was a misplay. Yeah, Monkey, I'm with you there. That's a big ha 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 moment. So what are we going to do here? Let's just create a food token. Bounce the Jide. Another Oko is pretty nice, but I kind of like this one for now. That also means we can just hardcast this Force, which is nice. Wasteland. Tick up on the food. I guess if they have the Batterskull, it's not the worst because we have the Force. But I'd rather see if we can get 2 cards out of it. I guess we can also tick up Teferi. Okay. Yeah, really interesting. I'm going to assume they have a bunch of 3-drops in hand, which is hopefully something that won't go out of hand, won't get out of hand. They also have 3 minutes on us, which, you know, is definitely something to consider. And maybe I have to start playing a little bit faster instead of just trying to go too wide on my board. Yeah, I could have made Jide into an Elk as well. I think the issue was that I didn't want to create too many creatures on their side where they could attack through my blockers just to kill a Planeswalker of mine, but I think, yeah, turning off the Jide is pretty nice. At least if they spend their 2 mana this turn to equip and attack, then I'm probably in a pretty good spot. Definitely make them attack. And then I'm pretty happy just to hardcast this Force. It's just a 1-for-1, but I think that's okay. I'm pretty happy to block this as well and just get it off the field. See what I draw first, and then maybe do this. Green Suns. Oof. I can Green Suns for Questing Beast, which is pretty fun. Let's do that. I'm gonna actually fetch as well. Oh, they do have Karakas though. They do have Karakas, so I should... Hopefully I can take this back. Can you not? I shouldn't have used the Wasteland, I should use the Dryad Arbor. So maybe that changes things. I can't go back, rough. Maybe we just don't care about that. Yeah, that's stupid. I can just replay it, that's very true. Questing Beast. Tick up. Yeah, let's tick up on this. And now we can just attack with everything. I guess my opponent could have Cataclysm. That's probably their one way out. Alright, so let's go Wasteland on this. They most likely use it on Questing Beast. Okay. Now let's tick up on Stoneforge and see if they do anything. If they have Batterskull, we can then return it to their hand. Okay. I guess we can just return this to the hand, draw a card. Okay. Attack with everything. Cattle would leave them dead on board. I guess it depends what they keep. Because if they keep the Karakas, it deals with the Questing Beast. If they don't... maybe they had Swords of Plowshares in hand, and they wanted us to get rid of the Meddling Mage. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I think I just run this back, to be honest. And see how it goes. But yeah, I'd like to go back to that Cataclysm and see what they had. Karakas would have been tapped. Ah, of course. That's very true. Matsol, always a step ahead of the game. Even if it's a tapped land. I don't mind this hand because we can play this Windswept Heath turn 1, which plays around Wasteland and Richmond Port, and then we can just go turn 2 Sylvan Library, which I think is pretty huge, and then the Council Judgment's really nice. So this is a 5-lander, but I think it's okay, especially with the Sylvan Library. Wasteland. Okay, let's go for this pass. Kept in Thalia. Interesting. Yeah, Force would have been sweet. Green Suns. Interesting. This is rough. Thalia just putting us behind, especially with this port as well. So if we play out one of these lands, it's just getting tapped in our upkeep. So I think we kind of have to Wasteland here. Which isn't the greatest, but... I guess I just didn't really think about Thalia being still in the deck. Maybe they think we have more non-creature spells in them, so they kept it in. I guess on the draw it's pretty nice, but another port's there pretty brutal. Again, they can just port us here, yeah, to make us use this Windswept Heath, which is a little bit annoying, but I'm just going to go for a snow-covered forest. I think Force is really the only card that can get us back in this game, because this Violent 3 is going to be so good. Turn 1 Vital, turn 2 Port is just so good, especially with Thalia against this draw where we just didn't have the creatures to support it. I guess Karakas would be an okay draw, but it would still be pretty rough. Opponent may be thinking if they want to flicker out this land, which I think is a great play. Green Suns. But yeah, just way too slow, especially if this is like Mirran Crusader. Recruiter, yeah. There's no way we're coming back from this. It's just a shitty keep, and I got punished. So maybe more fair hate is needed. I've definitely taken out a lot from the sideboard to deal with combo, but I mean, relying on just 4 Swords to Plowshares and 1 Council's Judgment to deal with creatures is probably not where we want to be. Maybe we need some more sideboard cards to deal with them. And not just rely on things like Oko and Teferi as 3-drops to try to deal with a Thalia. Like, that's not really where I want to be, so definitely gonna think of something else. This hand is a turn 2 Oko, which is kind of nice if we go and get Dryad Arbor off a tropical island. Maybe I want to play the Snow-Covered Forest, and then we can get a Tundra, because then that can also cast the Mother Runes. Polluted Delta, okay. Alright. Probably Storm. I'm going to assume it's Storm. Hierarch. I guess we go for Tundra because they already know about it. Mum, Noble, attack for 2. Yeah, it definitely looks like Storm. So really needing to draw into something like Thalia, Green Suns for Gaddock Teeg. Collector Ouphe isn't too bad. Dryad Militant would be okay, but it's really those first 2 that we're looking for here. They chose enough to shuffle as well, which is pretty brutal. Also just the 2 basics straight up. I think the best thing this Wasteland can probably do is just hit a fetch land in response to a Brainstorm, because they're probably going to play around it pretty well for the rest of the game. At least attacking for 3 does put some pressure on at a Nauseam line. They might not be able to go as deep as they want. I think this is what I get for playing the wrong Wasteland. Should be Tempest Wastelands. I should switch these around for sure. I'm going to assume they're going off this turn if they played the Volcanic here. Breach, okay. I guess we might as well 6. And see what they hit. At least if they brain freeze us, they have to brain freeze themselves a little bit first, so we do get to see some cards in the deck. Hopefully maybe even see some one-off hate pieces, like a bounce spell. They're probably close to just tendrilsing me anyway. Okay, Stormhand 5. Brain Freeze is fine. Maybe the hand with Oko was just a bit too fair. Main deck Veil of Summer, interesting. Still nothing too spicy. But it's always good to know about things like Thoughtseize, not just Duress. Because it means they can take things like Thalia or Meddling Mage. But yeah, really just a bit too fair. Like, playing Noble Hierarchs and a Dryad Arbor, like, I don't think it gets much fairer than that. Grape Shot, okay, so they have a Grape Shot win. So I guess Prelate for 2 seems pretty good, because it turns off Underworld Breach, it turns off Brain Freeze, it turns off Infernal Tutor, it turns off Grape Shot. Hey, Herculade, welcome to the stream. Currently looking like we're going to be down a game against Underworld Breach, but we did get up against it before post-board, so we'll see how this ends up. But yeah, Thalia definitely a better card against this variant of Maverick, which is pretty rough because, you know, you're not really too used to that in Maverick, where you do have access to things like Karakas, or just not really caring about it because usually you have your 4 Green Suns and your 4 Swords to Plowshares, and that's really your only non-creature spells. Adnors, okay. I am heading to UMG after this, playing a Paper Legacy, which is cool. I think I have like maybe 4 people to lend out decks to, which is pretty cool. So should hopefully be maybe 10 to 12 people, if there's not a few more going, which is cool. Always nice to get it in as well. I mean, like Sunday afternoon Legacy is pretty nice, and UMG's a nice store. Good amount of aircon, good space, good food around as well. The bakery's really good sandwiches at that bakery. It's gonna give a nice little... Let's just concede here. Not going to concede too much else. I'm not going to make my opponent play it out. I guess I have. But, okay. So we like Elemental Blast, Veto, Force, Leyline, Meddling Mage, Veil of Summer because we did see Thoughtseize and Duress, and also Prelate. We can take out the Swords. We can probably take out the Planeswalkers. We can take out the Questing Beast. Probably take out a Wasteland. Probably go down on I still need to win this game, so maybe the Knights have to stay put. Hexdrinker can most likely come out. And I might even go down on a Mum, because I believe most of their removal is bounce effects, but maybe I do keep a Mum, because I think it's Devastating Tide is the card that I've been seeing recently. One more. I think Sylvan Libraries are really nice because we can try to dig deep pretty early on. Maybe it's something like Scavenging Ooze. Maybe Ooze is just a little bit too slow. Yeah. Let's go with this. Tough, but I think this is okay. I'd love to play first. And this hand is Leyline or Bust. So the one nice thing about this hand, other than Leyline, is that we do have a Noble Hierarch and lands to cast whatever we draw into. What we don't have is... we don't really have a plan other than just Leyline. Might as well just lay... yeah, I could definitely main deck these Leylines. I think I'm happy to keep this because although we don't have a backup to Leyline, we can cast anything that comes out of our deck. And we also have protection in Mum, so I'm going to keep this. And hopefully these Leylines are just good enough. There might be some sort of plan where you just want to keep one Leyline in hand for later on, but I think because the amount of times bounce effects are how they deal with Leyline, it doesn't really matter. That's fine. Playing the Noble because I want to play some sort of 3-drop, especially if it's something like Green Sun Zenith. We can now Green Suns for 2 if we draw into it straight away, which is kind of nice. Like there's Night, so that's even a better one. Which means that we do have Wasteland turned on next turn, which is kind of cool. And just a pass from my opponent. Interesting. Canopy's kind of cool. Let's draw with this and see what we hit. Wasteland. We've already played a land for turn. I think the play is just to attack with Noble Hierarch and then Wasteland them. Probably in their upkeep. Just in case they have some sort of bounce spell. Gonna sack the... I guess they could think we have like Veil of Summer, so maybe I want to hold this open. I'm gonna go for Volk here. I want to try to keep him off blue. Brainstorm's fine. If I wanted to be really cheeky, I probably could have floated green in response to Brainstorm and then just untapped my Trop to act like maybe I wanted to Veil in response. Okay, so Wasteland survives, which is kind of nice. Also, keeping off blue keeps them off some of their bounce spells, which is kind of nice. Okay. Island's a little bit annoying, but at least we can still draw into a bunch of 2-drops. Or 3-drops, because we can Wasteland them and then use the Knight to sack the Trop for another land to get another 3 mana in total. Urgh. I remember I used to play Leylines in Death and Taxes sideboard, and I used to play Helm of Obedience as a 1-of. Because I was like, why not just have the win con? But it definitely didn't work as many times as I thought it would. Green Suns is pretty nice. So the question here is, do we want to go for Gaddock Teeg or Collector Ouphe? I think the answer is Gaddock Teeg. Maybe it's Collector Ouphe, actually. Ouphe? Okay. I guess I'm just so scared of Devastation Tide, but I think Ouphe is pretty nice. Yeah, Fetchland's actually great there. Is great there. So that's a little bit of a misplay. Hopefully it doesn't come back to us, because it seems like the math is going to line up anyway as a 2-turn clock, but you definitely never know. Kind of scary that they're playing the LEDs out. I don't think I want to fetch here. I think I kind of want to keep up... Do I want to keep up something like Dryad Arbor? I don't think I do. Maybe I'm happy just to fetch here. See if they have a bounce spell? No, okay. Interesting. I don't believe they play Massacre, thankfully. I don't think I want to change anything. I guess the Veil of Summers are a little bit less good on the draw, but I think they're okay. I think we might just run this back and see how it performs. It sounds pretty nice. It sounds really nice. Turn 1 Noble Hierarch, turn 2 Thalia. Green Suns and Thalia are both really good cards, so 1 Thoughtseize or Duress doesn't really do too much, which is nice. But you think Ooze is better than Teeg? Yeah, that's fair enough. I guess if they wanted to be really aggressive, they could take Noble Hierarch, because currently we don't have a way to cast the Thalia. And it definitely slows down the Green Suns as well. Okay. I like Thoughtseize first as well if they have a Duress, because Thoughtseize obviously has no prohibitations as well. We do have 2 black sources in Birds of Paradise, or in 1 Birds of Paradise and Scryb Ranger. But otherwise, it's going to be pretty hard to get it going. Interesting. Pretty happy just for Ouphe again. I mean, if they crack this in response, they could probably brainstorm, but I think this is fine. I don't know if this deck plays targeted removal like Fatal Push in the board. I should definitely look at some sideboards and see what are the most common pieces of removal. Bob, okay. Bob's pretty cool. Qasali, okay. I don't mind Qasali because it does hit for more mana. It does increase the clock. I believe this is just going to be, this is just like an Underworld Breach deck. Obviously ran Bobs out of the board because most decks take out removal like Swords to Plowshares. See what they hit. Bloodstained Mire. Nice hit. Usually what Bob does. Will they attack? No, okay. Maybe there's a line as well where I actually want to wasteland the Bloodstained Mire to kind of force them to get either a basic or a blue jewel. I think we'll definitely attack first. Pretty happy just to attack for 4 with the Qasali. I'm gonna see what they get with the Bloodstained. Bayou. Interesting. Maybe they have Abrupt Decay? For that reason, I probably just want to play Mum here and then hold up the Wasteland to hit this Bayou. Happy to pass back. Decay is going to be fine. Brainstorm's okay. I guess like maybe there's a world where I want to Qasali the LED the Lotus Petal in response as well, but I think I'd rather keep this because this is my last line of defense. Scalding Tarn. Okay. Maybe maybe that first Wasteland was just a little bit too too aggressive, because of course it is just a it is kind of a throwaway. But I kind of like the line there of trying to keep my opponent off getting a jewel, or if they do, trying to hit it before they can cast something with it. My opponent also has a lot of Force of Vigor. Okay, that's kind of nice with the Knight. So here I'm actually going to give Pro to the Qasali. And see if we can just maybe win off the Bob. I think they would definitely block this turn if they could. So I don't really want to give them that option. There's a lot of 4-drops on the deck, so we'll see what happens. I guess I could Brainstorm in response. Lotus Petal, always. Always. Maybe if they have a board wipe, like Massacre, they could attack and then Massacre, and then we're down to just one lonely snow-covered forest. Once had an opponent Bob revealed 2 Lilianas and die, felt so good. Yeah, I've definitely had my Chain of Vapor. Interesting. Okay. I guess they have to win this turn or bounce something else as well, because we do have lethal on board with the mum. I guess we do have 2 ways to deal with Breach, which is kind of nice. If our opponent casts Breach here, I don't think there's a reason to try to blow up the LED in response. Infernal Tutor. So if I hit the Qasali Pridemage now, they just get to float mana anyway? They're going to decay on Bob. Interesting. With no mana floating. And now sack. Okay, so we can't really do anything. That's going to be fine. So now they can get Breach, but we can respond to it with the Qasali Pridemage in response to, say, the first LED coming in. What are they going to get? There's Breach. Okay. Just respond to him casting the second tutor with Force of Vigor. So what happens if they cast LED and I respond to that with blowing up? Matsol, you make it too easy. You make it too easy sometimes. So luckily we went 3-2, which is kind of nice. We do get a little box to open, which is always cool as well. The Immortal Sun, interesting, and 10 play points, very nice. So the list felt pretty good. I still think there's some pretty good flex spots, like maybe Teeg and Teferi don't need to be in the main deck right now. I do like them in the 75 somewhere, but I think cards that we really want to try to get more of is probably probably another Force of Vigor would be really nice. A lot of Death and Taxes around, a lot of this Breach deck, of course, so another Force wouldn't go astray. Maybe Palace Jailer just isn't what this deck really wants. We don't have a great answer to go wide strategy like Young Pyromancer or Goblins or Elves, even Death and Taxes. So Palace Jailer, I think, is probably a bit of overkill because a lot of the time we're not going to be able to actually defend it really well. So maybe second Force is worth it there. Reclamation seems great, but we haven't really been able to use it to its full potential yet. Might want Jade in the board. Yeah, I have seen a lot of lists as well go with just double Jade in the board, which is pretty cool. Reclamation seems sweet, but against a lot of the decks where I kind of want it, it doesn't really matter because, you know, against Miracles, they're probably putting stuff at the bottom of the library or exiling it with Council's Judgment or Swords to Plowshares, so the amount of times you get something to the graveyard isn't actually that high. And yeah, I think it's a great card. It's obviously a really nice card, especially in white, but yeah, maybe it's not the best tier. Maybe we do like one another Force. I think I have one. We do, okay. Maybe like another piece of removal as well, but I'm not too sure what it would be. Maybe like a Path to Exile. Something just nice and cheap that is I'm gonna be able to play in the early turns. Council's Judgment, like another one would just be a little bit too mana heavy, I think. Oh, it was a green-black deck that went 5-0 with the Hound recently. Yeah, the Hound is pretty sweet. I think the Hound's really good in Loam decks. I saw Mansol. I think you were playing it. The new 1 white and black 3/3 Vigilant Lifelink Hound. I think it has one other keyword on it. But yeah, it seems pretty sweet. Obviously a card unit can't Green Suns for, but I think with Sylvan Library you could find it pretty well. Card seems pretty nice, especially as it's just a one-of in the side. Menace! There we go. Foxforest, thank you very much. So yeah, I thought the deck felt pretty nice. I think it's just working out, you know, do we want the extra Mum? Do we want the extra Thalia? Are we looking for more removal in the board? Are we playing too much combo hate? Like, maybe the Veils are a little bit overkill. We haven't really used these yet. And I think because we have a number of different ways to interact with the Thoughtseize decks, that maybe just allowing them to take one piece and just play the other is kind of worth it. Veil's always been interesting. It has come up recently where there's been a few times where I don't want to really keep the mana up for it. I want to progress my board, but having the Veil kind of just puts you in this position where you want to keep up the green source. So that's pretty interesting, but there's a really good, if you're on Discord, there's a really good Maverick Discord, of course, and there's also a section for BANT Maverick where there's a lot of players talking about the decks right now and putting in deck lists and seeing what the sort of best figures are. I think that Uro would be really sweet in this deck. I just don't have the ticks for it right now. But yeah, hopefully we get to it. But that's going to be me. A huge thank you to you guys that came in. To those who followed, of course, a huge thank you. I do have targets for my followers, so for anyone that does follow, I hope you enjoy my content. I hope you like fair legacy decks. I do have one on Wednesday night, thanks to Fox, a Vile deck that I'll be playing that isn't Goblins or Death and Taxes, so that should be pretty fun. It does play blue cards as well, and it's not Merfolk. So I'll leave you guys with that. I'm going to send you guys over. I think the Legacy Pit is currently streaming. It is not Fish, but that's a pretty good guess. If you guys want to find me on YouTube, you can find me at YouTube/C/DugsOnTwitch. You can also find me on Twitter at Twitter/DugsOnTwitch. But for now, let us raid the Legacy Pit. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday night. That's me. Thank you very much. Thanks, Patel. You too. Just gotta raid. We'll go to this screen. All right. That is it. A huge thank you.